Bit of B-roll there. This is a story of a 150-year plus search for a lost Roman road between Ribchester and Lancaster, and how it was eventually solved. I'm filming this intro at a funny little place called Street, and all Roman road hunters will tell you that if a place is called Street, then it means that there was a Roman road here. Bit more B-roll there, bit of street B-roll. So this video was actually suggested by one of our subscribers, Graham Fagan. Hi, Graham. And he'd been looking at this area and saw the Roman bridge abutment, a Roman road marked by the Ordnance Survey in the sort of mid-1800s, the straight road alignments and the name Street. And he was really intrigued by it. And people have been intrigued by that for a very long time. Although Margary had doubts about great long stretches of this proposed road, he was convinced the Roman road was here because it's called Street. And we have been taught, haven't we, that the English named Roman roads streets. But as you're going to see in this video, the Roman road is nowhere near Street. Just over here on private land is that supposed Roman bridge abutment at Street. I don't know, this might possibly be the approach to it. But in this video, I'm going to be tearing around the countryside in adverse weather conditions to tell you the story of how the road was eventually found, and found to be in a completely different place to where everybody had believed, a long way from Street. And we'll have a look at a few of the visible traces, because we now know what those visible traces are visible traces of. We've got an ancient causeway in an English charter, a Roman dual carriageway, and an illustration of how LiDAR changed the game. Join us as we show you how they found a lost Roman road. Before we get into the nitty-gritty for all you Roman road nutters out there, I just want to show you the reality of what's behind getting those dramatic drive-by shots. The lengths we go to be cinematic. For over 150 years, they searched for this road, Ribchester to Lancaster. Throughout that period, though, there was agreement on how it started. If you look at the map here, you'll see we've got this long straight alignment, now the B6245. But you'll see here at Pinfold, things start to wobble. Now, the early Ordnance Survey map projected it here up onto and over Longridge Fell in a straight line, and then on as an ancient causeway. Whilst Margary wasn't happy with the non-terraced bit over the fell, he seems to have accepted the general direction of travel here via Written Stone Farm. And that looks like a video in itself. Over there is Beacon Fell, and for over 150 years, all the different theories about where this road ran involved going close by that. There were routes proposed either side of it, but the reality is it doesn't go anywhere near it. And David Ratledge, the man who ultimately discovered the true course of this Roman road with his colleagues at the Roman Roads Research Association, has admitted that for over 40 years he was searching for the road heading towards Beacon Fell and on to Street. When you step back and look at the route of M704, it does beg the question, why go to all that trouble of building a great length of road like that when M70D is already running there? Such was the allure of a place called Street. I'm going to have to get rid of that mug before I get done for advertising standards 50. I'm a long way from that. I'm going to move on to the Doom Bar. Now, people quite often send me messages advising me that I should use the National Library of Scotland for old maps and side-by-side LiDAR. I do, and I actually show that on my videos quite often. But thanks for the suggestions anyway. Now, in terms of how they found the true course of this Roman road, it was, of course, down to LiDAR. But let's have a look at this. Right, so I'm now looking at the National Library of Scotland side by side. And if you look on the screen there, I'll wiggle it about a little bit so you can see that we're at that bit where it starts to go wobbly at pinfold. Now, if you look very carefully up here, you can see a faint trace in the LiDAR of a straight line. So remember, the Ordnance Survey and Margary have got the Roman road over here, but there we can see something there. Now, let's just compare that to the enhanced LiDAR that David Ratledge and his team worked on. You know, look at that, so much clearer. Look how defined, particularly along this stretch here, the agger is. And look, a long way off of that previously suspected route. So as great as the National Library of Scotland LiDAR is, you've got to enhance it if you're looking for a long-lost Roman road. Right, let's go and have a look at that Roman dual carriageway. Ah, here we are. Wasn't quite expecting this. So this is the proper milestone, erected in this garden here by the public footpath. Lovely example of Roman milestone. Now, up until the discovery of the road through LiDAR, the idea was that this had travelled several miles from that old Ordnance Survey projected route. But we now know that it hasn't travelled very far. It's not on the Roman line here, but it's close to it. It's good, isn't it? Now, I'll call in some sort of overlay at this point because some years ago, I think 30-odd years ago, they did work out the inscription on this milestone. I'll put it on as some sort of overlay. Maximian, I think. Emperor Maximian. Now, I don't know if you could tell with this terrible GoPro camera work in these challenging conditions, but that milestone is actually inverted. It's the wrong way round. Now, it has been moved, so we don't know that it ended up like that. But the inversion of milestones was a thing when they were recarved for a new emperor, something like that. This is where the repositioned milestone is, at Stonelands. Now, that's an old-school style clue, isn't it? After that, I made my way down here next to find the very exciting Roman dual carriageway. Now, I hope I've got this right, but this was part of the amazing discovery that the LiDAR revealed. So I'm walking down. This is the Roman dual carriageway. I think I've got this right. I'm coming down off of one iteration of the road. I don't think it's this hollow way here. And then up here, I'm coming up onto another mega iteration of the road. So we've got two stretches of Roman agger side by side here. And until David Ratledge got stuck into that LiDAR, nobody seems to have ever noticed this. Now, if you look at this sort of little channel here, there probably used to be a field boundary cutting through. It hopefully gives you some sort of sense of the scale of that agger there. It is massive. And then behind me here, I'll do the old running up and over thing. That seems to get positive feedback when I do that. But hopefully that can show you just how big this thing is. Another really interesting thing about this is that we've got this sheer sort of bulk of it here. I've climbed back up here, but then as I come down here, it just disappears. So I don't know if that's a case of there was always this sort of raise in elevation. I suspect not. I suspect that is showing us how it's just been ploughed away. That horse is bang on the agger there in the next field. Milestone just beyond. I'm standing in the Roman road side ditch here. I'll come over here. Now, long-term viewers may remember that acronym SMAS, and one of those was swell. If you look along there, can you see how the hedge line is showing you the swell of the Roman road? I'll drop down here. It is really well defined. Then at the hedge line here, I'll just run quickly up so you can see the scale of it. It's cut through by this ditch here, but then the huge agger continues into that field. The view is that this is the later sort of upgrade next to the original road over there, and they date that to about 300 AD. I think that comes from the Maximium inscription on the milestone just up there. And looking through the hedge there, the milestone has not moved far. I don't know, what is that? I don't know, possibly 30 metres away from the line of the road. Whatever it is, 1800 years later, roadside ditch still doing its thing. Very visible there in the next field. Our friend the horse is standing on it there. Roman roadside ditch. Now, I'm not entirely sure what it's doing here as we get close to the house. The road is over there, I think. But if I come round here, road is there, milestone is there. So I don't think that's travelled more than about 10 metres in 1800 years. Oh, well, the weather's cleared up a little bit. So just to clarify, if you want to come and have a look at this place, that is our original milestone, not very far from the line of the road. I'm not too sure what all of these things are all about here, but they're rather nice, aren't they? To wrap up on this pinfold to Stonelands section, there are some nice old school clues here that could have perhaps pointed Roman road hunters in this direction pre-LiDAR. A lane called Fleet Street Lane. A bit of a sop there for the street advocates, the now disappointed street advocates. Look how the footpath roughly follows the line, plus we've got hedgerows, then there's the name, Stonelands, a repositioned milestone, and a great big agger. Huge thanks to David Ratledge for responding to my query about the dual carriageway. He provided this, confirming that I was right, and I very much like his idea that the new road was possibly built due to subsidence on the first. Now, I might introduce a competition here. Can you spot the agger in this field on the other side of Stonelands? Screenshots on our Facebook page, and be quick before Zuckerberg introduces his new rules and will only then be able to post ball baloney on there. The prize might be a redundant 50 mug. Terrible lighting up here on the edge of Longridge, but those reservoirs there are now on top of our Roman road. Now, that's more like the terracing that Margary was looking for as the Roman road climbs Longridge Fell. I understand this land has now been built on by Taylor Wimpey, so the traces you can see here will have now all been destroyed. Not all Wimpeys are bad, though. I liked and miss these. OK, so this is the much more sensible lower crossing point on Longridge. These houses over here are probably sat on the road. If I cross over here, this is Green Lane, and that's roughly on the line of the Roman road. It's veering off a bit more that sort of way. And there's quite a nice story. Somewhere down here in this built-up area, there is a rockery made out of Roman road stones. Now, that might be lost on a younger demographic, but we haven't got one, so it doesn't matter. Our demographic will remember rockeries. Probably still got some. We're going to leave dystopia, I mean suburbia now, and look at how the road reveals itself in David's LiDAR here. Physical evidence found at Ashley Hall and the discovery of the road hereabouts finally enabled Janet Edmonds to solve this charter from 1200 with its old causeway. And as an aside, if anyone can solve these names, I'd be very surprised and very impressed. Now, I've not been able to make it out at all in the field that I've just crossed to get to this point, but when you jump over this stile, look at this. We have the Roman road sort of sunken here as it heads to cross a beck at the bottom of the valley. Now, I don't know about you, but I just love that. Now we know this is the Roman road. For centuries, this has been lost, but now it is found again. And it's interesting, isn't it, how the road surface, the snow's gone off of the road surface. It then drops down here, quite a steep sort of cutting as we come down this gradient. Now, for once, the fact that the weather is bloody wretched is in our favour here, because as we come down to the beck, over there, the snow has melted on the line of the Roman road. I wouldn't have seen that if we didn't have this snow on the ground. So just for once, the awful weather is in my favour. It's quite a significant beck, this one, so there must have been a bridge here. Can't see any sign, though. But I guess it sprung off over there. I absolutely love these faint traces in remote places. How poetic is that? Now, when I come to somewhere like this, the thing that boggles my mind, it really bugs me, is when did this road disappear? As we saw from that dual carriageway, this was a major Roman highway linking Ribchester to Lancaster. But now, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there. When did it die? When did this road go out of use? I'd suggest a very long time ago in this instance. This was at Winnie Clough Beck, and I got lucky with the snow going all LiDAR on the ground for me there. But time, light and weather were against me now, as usual. There's one more place I just want to get to before I call it a day. This might be my favourite one so far. So behind me I can see the Roman road in this field. There's a bit of a sort of a holloway, some embankments. But in front of me by the beck, I think it's called Starling Brook, something like that, you could see the bridge abutment. Me and my shadow. There it is. The bridge abutment. Still very clear. Me and my shadow again. Oh, this is worth getting in the mud for. Boulders everywhere. River boulders, they commonly use river boulders, but this is what I particularly like, sort of up in here. We've got nice rounded sort of road stones. I would say those are road stones. So the bridge went across here. Another bridge abutment. I'm stuck. I don't know how well this will come across on camera, but I can see the shape of that abutment really well. And I think they're the sort of ditches at the side. Christ, it's hailing now. I had hoped to cram in the River Brock crossing, where the road can be seen from a footpath across the other side of the river, but the road to access it was flooded. At Matt's Head Farm on the other side of the river there, test pits were dug and the well-preserved road surface was found 25 to 30 centimetres below the surface. Some numbers for all you numbers nutters on the screen there. Shortly after the road is crossed by the M6, which presumably destroyed it there, our road joins 70D at Catterall. Thanks again to David Ratledge for permitting me to use the images from his excellent website, Travelling with the Romans, link in the description, and for finding the road for us as well. It's a long way from street, and I hope Graham Fagan isn't disappointed because I'm really grateful he prompted me to cover this road. It's a very powerful illustration of the game-changing nature of LiDAR. We can see the Roman engineers opted for a sensible lower-laying route that connected with 70D, which we must presume predated it. Where does this leave street and its bridge abutment then that Graham alerted me to? Well, I'm not going to sit on that. It's wet. Take a look at the parish boundary there. It's a long way off of that alluring supposed Roman bridge abutment, isn't it? Now, the parish boundary probably dates back to 1200s, 1300s, and that is probably where the river was then. So this Roman bridge abutment that we're looking at clearly isn't. It's probably 18th century. So that's the current bridge at Street, and there is a footpath on this side of the river, so I can sort of get close to the bridge abutment, but I've left it too late. It's really dark. There it is, just over there. So I just think it's an earlier iteration of the much later bridges. A slightly odd thing happened when I was ridiculously attempting to film that bridge abutment in the dark. It's in the middle of nowhere, and I was walking down the lane to the current bridge, and there was a small car parked up, and dare I say it, for fear of being cancelled, the occupant was a rather attractive young lady, and she had the window open, and I couldn't help but notice a very strong smell of special cigarettes emitting from the car, and I wondered what the effect upon her drug-addled mind was of the sight of an antiquarian appearing from the gloom. Now, on the subject of attractive ladies, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the very enthusiastic response to the appearance of my lovely wife in last week's video. And because of that, she said she will appear again. So we'll look forward to that. But thanks for watching this week's video, and I'll see you again very soon.